so glad you were able to come. It worked out so beautifully, and it's such an honor and such a joy to join hands, join hearts in, we'll call it a yoga instead of a partnership, a union together for yoga, for peace.
And Rishikesh is known as the birthplace of yoga, is that right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Rishikesh is, it's known actually colloquially these days as the capital of yoga.
Okay.
But on a more serious note, it really is, I think, the birthplace of it. Because, at that time, of course, there weren't lines that said, here's where Rishikesh ends and our next district begins. But it was here in these Himalayas, on the banks of the Ganga, where the sages and the saints and the rishis did their sadhana, did their tapasya, where they channeled yoga. Patanjali codified it. He brought it into a way that was systematic and understandable for people. But he didn't invent it. For thousands and thousands of years, we've had sages and saints and rishis here in these mountains doing yoga, doing meditation, attaining enlightenment. And, when Pujya Swamiji was very young and he was taken to the jungle by his guru, he was forced to stand on one leg in Vrikshasana for 11 hours a day. This is the posture that Dhruv in the scriptures stands on to get darshan of Vishnu. So you've got Dhruv in Vrikshasana. You've got Swamiji's guru putting him in Vrikshasana as an 8-year-old child. This is a system that existed long before someone said, and here's what we do for sciatica, and here's what we do for, the knees, and here's what we do for the shoulders. It's been codified, which is wonderful. But salt existed in the ocean long before cookbooks came out. And so this is really where we're at, is that, you can say, well, the ocean or the rocks are the birthplace of salt. Somebody somewhere decided, okay, this is a great thing to put in food, and started writing things down and how much, but they didn't invent it. And so in the same way, these sages and these saints and these rishis sat here and they just did yoga. Literally, we're going back to Dhruv, and possibly even long before Dhruv. Here in this country, if you're not following the yamas and the niyamas as the foundation of yoga, Patanjali gave us 8 limbs, beginning with the yamas and the niyamas. I won't go into all of them, but there's 10 of them, and it really is sort of the 10 commandments of yoga. And what's most important is, number 1 is ahimsa, nonviolence. Number 2 is satya, truth. We don't get to asana until you've gone through 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. Then you get to asana. Then you get to pranayam. So ask any builder, any architect, any contractor, so can I start my house on the 3rd floor? Right? How would this be? I'd like to not have a foundation for this building, if that would be all right. Let's just cut out the foundation and make a gorgeous 3rd floor. And they'd laugh at you. I want floors 3 through 8. I want to touch the sky, heaven. But forget my foundation. They'd laugh. And in the same way, here in India, where yoga is really a practice that's very full, and a practice that means so much more than the asanas, it really begins with a practice of ahimsa and a practice of satya. And so if you're not a vegetarian, if you wear leather, if you are violent in word, in thought, in deed, if you're cheating on your family, if you're beating your family, if you're stepping on the heads of people to get ahead, if you're not living a life of purity, if you're not living a life of truth, you're not a yogi. Sure, they might say, oh, that's really, an impressive asana. But it's not yoga. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, it's a beautiful, beautiful passage in the Gita. Krishna takes us through the details of creating the asana. And he goes through stanza after stanza of what it should be made of. How thick, how thin, how hard, how soft, how high. And after all of that, after dedicating these precious stanzas in just our 700 stanza Gita, after giving that, he says, now that you have established yourself in asana, you are ready to begin the practice of yoga. Now that you're established in asana, you're ready to begin the practice of yoga. And I can't think of any teaching that is clearer about, A, the importance of asana, because we tend to be black or white. We tend to say either it's all about asana, or, oh, asana is just the physical component, forget it, I'm so much more spiritual. Well, remember that Krishna did dedicate those precious stanzas to the preparation of the asana. So the asana is of great importance. We establish ourselves in asana, and then we're ready to practice yoga.